All right. Let me get this stream started here. I'm just gonna drop a link in Discord here real quick. Wagwan man's tuning in from the gym. Let's go. Where's the free chat? Keeping it lemon 25-8. That's what I'm saying. Happy Sunday to you too. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. Yeah, Superstar is Echo, I think. Hopefully I didn't blow his cover or anything. Walk through all of this. Let me stop doing this. Nah, totally not. All right, man. Whatever. All right, I'll start this in a minute or two here. I'm gonna lie, man. I have so many levels and boxes and zones on my chart right now. It's so hard to differentiate everybody. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. See what's presented here. Oh, interesting. It does that. All right. All right. I'll get started here, and we'll start with. Let's go through all VWAPs usually. Beginning of the week, I'll go through everything. Usually day to day, I don't have to open up all this stuff, but still a good habit nonetheless. All right, so I mean, again, we'll look at yearly value here. Basically the same as previous quarter, but obviously we'll work through that. Again, not much here in terms of the lower half of developing your value, but we get into the upper half here. I mean, ultimately, two highs we put in the last two prior weeks, right? We came up and put this high in upon filling the single print here. Came up and swept the high again. Ultimately, we flushed down. We front ran yearly VWAP at least on Coinbase, but we tagged previous quarter VWAP. So in that basis, that's time and space above VWAP. So that that points towards probably the move through developing your value towards 84K. But besides that, really just an inflection at this point. Previous quarter is a bit more clean to look at, but I mean basically the exact same thing. Right, so again, previous quarter val was support, previous quarter VWAP was resistance, right? So every time we interacted with these zones, pretty good interactions with large moves, right? And then uh, upon this larger move up towards the end of April, right, we obviously put time and space in above previous quarter VWAP. The flush last week off of FOMC capped downside against that level, and now we're starting to trade up again. So I mean, really, at least a decent kind of bullish line in the sand going forward would be that VWAP, but nothing too crazy with that right now. Looking at monthly value, we just got a new monthly value, previous month value. I guess last week we started to break down from value. We traded back inside of monthly versus, I guess, his previous month value now. Retested and put in a new low. And then ultimately we got one more push back up and took out the high, which was kind of the last bullish glimmer of hope, I think, last week, which is really just a larger retest of that level. And upon that flush, we should have traded down, but nonetheless, we failed to trade through monthly value. And then now we've got back above that level and we're continuing to trade up. So really just going to see where this overlaps with composite structure and all that kind of stuff going forward, and really just like go from there, because there isn't really much else to work with at that point. As for weekly, let's see where we're at here. So we're imbalance up on developing week value, right? This was that FOMC flush, and then ultimately we traded back inside of developing week value. We traded back inside of previous week value. We traversed both of those, and then now we're imbalanced up, so holding above weekly value, which is now support, right? And previous week is also looking the same. Though, in order to get bullish up here, I'm going to have to see something else, I think, going forward. Yo, what's good, Spoil? I think we'll have to see something else going forward around this level. Composite structure is going to be something I lean on more this week, which usually does take precedent for me anyways. But I think this week it's just being where we are. There's a lot of value to work with. This chart honestly is pretty hard to differentiate between all of the levels. I'm going to explain all of them, but I mean it's a bit of a shit show trying to label all of these. So I've done my best to try and do it, but either way. So we recap last week. We opened what here? Right, this was that failed push above the high, right? Buyers got really aggressive. We were trying to force a breakout, ultimately got flushed back into value. Another kind of retest here, followed by another flush, another undersided retest of this 6-day composite, and another breakdown. And then this was that kind of failed. We failed to trade back inside of this 3-day composite. Ultimately, got back above that level. This was that kind of that last glimmer of hope, which was when we retested previous month value high, which was this move here, and ultimately led to that flush with FOMC. And then it doesn't really get much cleaner than this. I took a short here upon FOMC, right? We traded back below these overlapping composite levels, and we shifted back inside of this 3-day composite high, which is the white line. I know it's kind of hard to differentiate all of this shit here, but either way. The most important thing I would say around this level was the flush here into previous quarter VWAP, which overlaps with, again, composite low and a composite high of these 2 3-day profiles. Flushed out a ton of positioning around that level, right? And then ultimately, that's the low we put in. So I was actually looking for a sweep of this level. It never came. And then we continued to trade up, right? We traded back inside of composites here. We traded back inside of developing week and previous week value, and we just continued to trade up from here. So that brings us to kind of where current price actually is. And ultimately, we're kind of just compressing against the overlapping levels here. So this older 4-day composite high is back from February. It's this level here. It's a 4-day composite high. We have an older 5.5 or 6-day composite level here. I'll just put TPO in here just to quickly kind of give you a visual because it's kind of a bitch to look at. So that's the weekly. I'll get to that in a second. So through it here, right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically 6. You could split the profile here, so you'd have 5.5, but either way, that's what this level is there. Kind of a shitty 3-day there I don't have marked, and then these older ones. But going into this week, I would say that your most important levels would be, like I said, that 6-day profile. We have 2 weeks of overlapping value here as well. So if I split this, you can see that pretty clearly, right? We have a weekly composite, another weekly composite, which we're basically sitting at value area high right now, right? I have it marked a little bit differently, just based. I don't really like TPO and TradingView, but nonetheless, we're chopping around value area high, and that overlaps with the older 4-day point of control, this 6-day composite high, and the 2-week composite high. So basically, this gray box is the older 4-day, and this gray box is the 2-week composite. I know it's hard to read. And then there's a 6-day composite inside of that. It's kind of a bitch, but that's just how I label this stuff, trying to differentiate all of this stuff. So if we look at positioning and stuff here, I think let's just full screen this, I guess. I don't know. Let's take a look at this and just see. I just want to see what we're doing here. Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, right, open interest continues to climb up here. Right, you can see steady climbing. A lot of positive delta. I mean, I need to be measuring from here actually, but nonetheless, there's a lot of positive delta up here. There's some negative, so there is shorts around here. So I mean, a squeeze higher would make sense to me. I wouldn't write that off. But ultimately, there's quite a bit of fresh longs up at this level too, which is resistance, right? So I would say that open interest pretty overbought up here, in my opinion. Pretty large passive offer, right? I mean, order books to me are skewed pretty bearish at this point. So ultimately, I don't want to position long up here on the basis that we compress and squeeze out higher, unless something changes in the books. We see something kind of skew more bullish in order to get long above here. Let's say we do trade up ultimately, like maybe we continue to compress here and then we get a squeeze move kind of to the upside. That's possible. Not going to position for that just yet. So that's kind of one bullish scenario. The next one being that we actually find acceptance above the 4-day composite high. So if we get something like this, on that basis, then I'd be looking to get long. We do have these highs again, and in kind of the 80K round number. So I think maybe price struggles around there, but that's something you can't really anticipate. You kind of just have to trade the chart and see what happens ultimately. And with that being said, my next targets from there would be an older, see if I can find this anyways, older 8-week composite. This is when my chart was a different color, so ignore these levels, but you have 2024 value area high, this 8-week composite low, which is essentially this range. So if we go back to yearly value, it's this level here. So right here, 2024 value area high at 82K, give or take. That would be kind of my first target. I'd be watching 80K, round number, like I said, as well. But ultimately, 80K, and then 81 to 82-ish. And then, of course, like I mentioned, the full move through yearly value, previous quarter value, which would put price around 84K if we do see that full move through. Developing year value on the simple fact that we've shifted bullish here, and we held previous quarter VWAP, yearly VWAP kind of area on that dump. So ultimately, that's kind of what that points to. We'll just have to see what happens though. The bearish case, right? Given that we are at so much overlapping resistance right now, you wouldn't want to get long just yet on the simple fact that if we do flush with that positioning, you're going to buy a top and it's going to go like this, right? So previous week value high is also there, developing week value high. So I think being we have this 6-day composite, I think that if we start to break down and get back below, right? Ultimately, it's starting to shift bearish against the 2-week profile as well as capping upside. The 4-day point of control and we ultimately retested value high of that older 4-day composite. So there's a ton of overlap here and it's kind of confusing, but ultimately definitely capping at significant resistance. So should we start to shift bearish against the 2-week composite and the 6-day, right? Here's the high of the 2-week, here's the high of the 6-day, right? If we get something like this, I'd be looking to swing short down to probably the 2-week composite low, which is confluent with weekly val, previous week val. And again, the overlap between all these composite levels down here. So 76, 76.4, something like that. I think the only way that gets stopped if we do break down is that this overlap here. So 7-day rolling VWAP, the weekly VWAP, all of this stuff here, the 6-day composite val. If we get something like this, in a good flushing position here, I'd be looking to either take profits or at least hedge long at that point, just on the simple fact of this kind of being the last thing that's going to stop the full move through here. And there's a ton of overlap here between levels, between VWAP and composite. So I would say that, and then ultimately, should we just, we may build up more value here. It really just depends, right? We could just become rotational in what's now 2 weeks of value. So I think if we flush into this level here, that's potentially a long. And I think if we get back below here, back inside of this 3-day composite, start to shift bearish against these VWAPs as well, I think that's going to be the move down. And then ultimately, I think line in the sand is going to be 30-day rolling VWAP and yearly VWAP, that kind of thing. So if we truly start to break down past here, that was a bad line, but we start to get bearish below here, I would say it's maybe cooked, and maybe this is the top. Anybody have any quick questions on that? It's probably all I need to go over here. I think I don't want to make this too long. But ultimately, maybe we squeeze out here, but hard to say. Acceptance above here is going to be a long. Should we start to break down? Short, probably hedge along around here if there's a good flush in OI. Or we trap some sellers down here. And then ultimately, probably looking for that or that. It's really just reactionary. Do we flush positioning here and get an entry? If not, look for acceptance below and play with the trend, more or less. Is what I would do. What else? I guess I'll quickly go over some alt stuff that I'm in as well, and then I'll wrap this up. This is a quick stream. I haven't looked at any other majors, really. Ultimately, I wanted to get short here on Ethereum, but this is when Bitcoin capped at previous quarter VWAP. We just didn't trade down, so not doing much with Ethereum right now. I think Bitcoin's cleaner to trade. Pengu, I got long around here, had to close it. It gave a nice entry around here. I'm not in this anymore. Sui, I'm in for kind of a swing. Ideal entry would have been down here, but I was just late, so I got in yesterday. When you get rolling VWAP starting to converge like this, usually, it points to an aggressive breakout more often than not. Excuse me. So, looking to potentially trade that up to like yearly VWAP on the simple fact that previous quarter val held around this level, so maybe we trade all the way back up to here. And I just kind of have this point of control of this kind of range, this balance area as the target. So we'll just kind of see off the gauge it around these levels, POC value area high, and just see what happens. Maybe it just becomes rotational, but nonetheless, it should at least run to this out of value. Ondos is cooking really well. So I took some profits off that. Honestly, I may hold this even longer. It just depends. And then I'm just targeting this imbalance first. Yearly value high previous quarter might also be on the table, but it doesn't get much cleaner than that, to be honest. Virtual also broke out, so very similarly, like you get the converging kind of rolling VWAPs. Ondo is a really good example of that. You can see they all start to converge. Pretty much every time this happens, you just get an aggressive move. What else are we in? Doge, I'm looking at as well. I caught a pretty good ripper on Doge. I think it was this leg. I'm out of it now. And then we're starting to build out kind of a 3-day composite around here. So given rotational here, there's enough overlap. I think if we start to clean up these highs, I think maybe there might be a short here. And then ultimately, I'd love to play this down if we deviate the range into previous quarter VWAP and this naked point of control. Something like this would be a really good entry to potentially swing longer. So if we, try and bid around here, do we shift back inside, right? Maybe, I mean, who knows, right? Maybe we break out. So that, I mean, if I was to position swing long here on Doge, it would be here and just see what we can do with this kind of area. So that's pretty much it. I think I covered everything I needed to, kept this nice and short. So I think we'll just have to see what happens with Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll just have to see. I mean, let me look at, can't see it here actually on my screen, but yeah, I mean, order book depth, I mean, I'd say it's skewed pretty bearish. Open interest looks pretty overbought to me on kind of what I'm looking at here. So I think we just got to wait and see, be reactionary to what it gives. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to wrap this one up. I'll do a little write-up in the cord for everybody, and hope everybody had a great week, or a great weekend, rather, and wish everybody luck trading this week. Solana. All right, I'll look at Solana. I actually don't think I have looked at Solana in a while. That looked like a pretty good bid down here. I haven't charted Solana, but Solana to me looks like it's going to break out too, right? So it's like what I was saying before. When you start to get this convergence of these VWAPs, it usually leads to a breakout, right? So I mean, even if you look, this is pretty compressive, right? Like looks like it's starting to coil up. Either that or it caps and breaks down. But to me, this looks like it's going to break out. As for an actual chart, I don't know. I haven't charted it. That was a good bid. Oh man. How far does this go back? I mean, you could chop this up and get a huge composite, but it's not going to be very useful for you. That's a pretty good previous week profile, to be honest. I mean, really, to me, Solana is doing the same thing Bitcoin's doing, except rolling VWAPs look more favorable for a breakout on Solana, in my opinion. So, I mean, as much as I don't usually just use a standard weekly profile, that's pretty decent, aside from how low volume POC is skewed in the distribution. Let's look at what we've got for daily. Yeah, so 3-day composite over the weekend. Another 3-day here basically looks like. So again, it's the same thing as Bitcoin, really. It's just compressing here. So ultimately, I would say if it, let's just see. Whoops. Ultimately, yeah, I would say it's going to compress and break out like Bitcoin is going to, or you're going to see a move probably much lower. I would say that, where'd that POC go? I move into this POC to take out these lows. Either that or it's I wouldn't be surprised if it rotates back to 83, to be honest with you. So, you know what? I'm actually going to have an alert down here. I think that's a really good level to bid, my opinion. So either if we see a smaller pullback, I mean, it just depends how Solana holds up. I haven't looked at what it's doing here. So, I mean, yeah, that looks pretty constructive for Solana to start moving here. Well, actually, maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. Looks like it's kind of forming a bottom here. I don't know. It's kind of forming a bottom here anyways for Sol BTC. So maybe Solana's going to be good to trade going forward here. But I'm just going to play it by ear. I think that's a good level to bid on Solana if it does come down. So I'm going to put an alert down here, but I'll just set it a bit higher actually. So something like that I think is good. Was in so longs but got out. It's too sketchy. Yeah, I mean it's the same thing as Bitcoin, right? When you get the rolling VWAPs here converging like this, or starting to, um, usually points to a breakout more often than not. One of the most useful things you can do with rolling VWAP is spotting that. But yeah, I mean if you look at positioning, I haven't really looked. It's probably pretty similar. I mean it's not as bad as Bitcoin, but certainly there could be a flush. Bitcoin's positioning looks even worse in my opinion. Looks like it's just getting really aggressive. So we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe it squeezes again. I think Bitcoin's a bit cleaner to trade, at least right now. I think that POC is going to be the next near-term spot to take out these lows. Let me just see where our volume's at. This is over the weekend as well, so it might be skewed. No, I guess it's the same. Mark that quick. Yeah, so something like that. POC, yeah, would be the next area to work with if any of these have been swept. So, I mean, maybe monthly VWAP, weekly VWAP. Maybe we deviate those and you see a decent plunge there and there's something. But, I mean, in all honesty, to me, this is a better. Actually, that's not a bad long either. Should we go lower? This is the better long for sure. Is what I meant to say. So, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. Hope everybody has a great week, and yeah.